do know.
Oh, okay. I think they're all here. Did you get one? Hey, if you need it, Wanda, I'll hand it to you. Okay. I think everybody's. Oh, we're talking about signing the sponsor. Thank you. And you the only one that didn't get one? Is there one? That's funny. That's funny.
Well, I was sitting here
All right.
listening all Hi guys, it is 6:02. Wait for our commissioners to take their assigned seats. Remind everybody, if you got a cell phone, if you hadn't already silenced it, please do so at this time. I would like to ask Corporal Davis to call this meeting to order from our Coffee County Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff proclaims the commission open for business.
Brother Jerry Pullum, are you here? There we go. He's going to be, Jerry Pullum, from the pastor of the Manchester Trinity Baptist Church, is going to offer our invocation.
Yes, I was going to read a scripture first. It says, I urge you then, first of all, that requests, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for everyone, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior, who wants all men to be saved and come to a knowledge of the truth. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all men, the testimony given in its proper time. And for this purpose I was appointed a herald and an apostle. Let us pray. Father, we do come to you in the name of Jesus. Lord, your word tells us to come to you and pray, and God, to ask a blessing, Lord, on our leaders, Lord, on kings and those in authority. And today we pray for our government officials. We pray for Lord Mayor Hunt. Lord God, thank you for him. Thank you for our officials. Thank you for all of those who are in leadership positions. God, we thank you for, Lord, our city and our county. Lord God, we are so appreciative to be able to live here. God, I pray a blessing, Lord, not only on our leaders and those in authority, but I pray a blessing on this meeting today. Lord God, that you would bless those who have to speak. May all things be done peaceful, Lord, in an orderly manner. And God, we need you. We always need you, and we need your blessings. And Lord, we just call down your blessings on us, on your people. And Lord, we pray that we would just be surrendered to you in all things that we do, how we act and what we say. In Jesus' name we pray. And all God's people said, amen.
Amen. At this time, I would like to ask Commissioner Joe Mike Hodge to lead us in the pledge to the U.S. flag. Okay, I'd like to start off without objection. The chair shall be allowed to speak to items on the agenda during discussion on this evening's agenda by unanimous consent. Do you have an objection? Please state your objection.
Yes, sir. It's important that we continue to follow procedures, and our procedures say that if you're to speak to or against any issue, you must step down from the chair, and our pro tem should take over as chairman at that point. Those are our procedures.
Okay. I do agree with your comment, so the chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules that would allow the chair to speak during discussion on tonight's decision. No motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Are we voting and you've already got that? I'm sorry, you already did the roll call?
That's what they're doing now.
Okay. All right, having said that, let's skip right now to the roll call. Sorry, guys.
18 present.
All right, having said that, the objection that was stated previously to roll call, now we have the voting block up. The reason that I made this statement is because the chairman, tonight's agenda includes zoning resolution amendments. Our chairman pro tem is a member of the planning commission. If I step down to the chair, from the chair, which I'll gladly do, then she's going to have the same conundrum that she cannot speak when wanting to clarify any actions that the planning commission takes. Then the body has to go through the process of nominating a substitute chairman pro tem, so for the chair. So just to speed the things up, I promise all I'm going to do is answer questions, because some people's going to ask me questions, I'm sure. So once again, the chair will entertain a motion to abide by the objection stated by Commissioner Hodge. The chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules to allow the chair to speak from the chair.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to suspend the rules. This does take a 2/3 majority, by the way, which would be 12 people. So is there any discussion regarding this, or why, what my request is and why? If not, we can vote on that motion, please.
Mayor?
Yeah, that didn't go, it didn't, you didn't have a separate motion and second, that was on roll call. You need to go, you have to put in the motion.
Don't y'all love technology?
See, which has to go back.
Oh, okay.
You have to go back and
That's sort of.
however you do that. Just put motion, just put motion, to be fine. Instead of approve agenda.
Does everybody understand it's not for the agenda, right? Okay. Because we have some over here that does not understand that.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. So some of you have to listen to me, and it's going to save a lot of time me swapping chairs with Laura and Laura swapping chairs with somebody else. So I appreciate that. I want to open one statement, sort of like a judge charging a jury. I like to always remind people, as I did in the last planning commission meeting, abstaining from voting, in essence, is generally considered. There's individuals sitting here tonight on a lot of emotional issues that might feel that they're sort of put themselves in a safe place by abstaining, but you're not representing your electorate, the people that put you in the office. I got one short story, and then we're going to move on to business. Back several years ago, on the Coffee County Rural Roads and Bridges Committee unanimously passed a item of business that would take Old Cold Ridge Road into the county highway network, the system. That road led up to a African American Methodist Episcopal church and graveyard. That graveyard was almost inaccessible by this roadway. So the Rural Roads and Bridges Committee unanimously voted to approve that road to be adopted as a county road. When it made it to the full legislative body here and it came up for vote, there were 3 noes, 8 yeses, and 10 people abstained. Those 10 people, by their actions of not wanting to, whatever, I don't understand why anybody would do that, but those 10 votes those 10 non-votes were essentially no votes, which led to that road being not maintained. And that parcel of property that was set aside for the African American Methodist Episcopal Church and the associated graveyard fell into disrepair. The small community, the body of that church, was unable to maintain the documents. It kept them in tax exemption status. Therefore, this county confiscated that property and sold it in a tax sale, a delinquent tax sale. So the consequences of abstaining in a vote can be pretty horrific. So if you guys tonight have any idea that you might abstain on this, just so it doesn't look like you're one way or the other, that doesn't work. If you abstain, you're voting no. So I appreciate that. Moving right along, the next item would be to approve the agenda. Back in the good old days, somebody just raised their hand, I make a motion, but now we're on this computer system, and sometimes it's slow, and we try to bear with it. Motion to approve the agenda was made by Commissioner Tim Brown, seconded by Commissioner Benton Brown. That's the way I'm looking at it.
No, that's request to speak. Look to the right. They want to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, I see it. I got you. All right. Commissioner Reed made the motion. I'm going to get here. Commissioner Hirschman seconded it. Commissioner Reed, you have the privilege to speak first on the agenda approval. Okay. Number 1 would be Commissioner Tim Brown.
I'd like to ask to make a few changes on the amenda.
You wish to
I mean,
amend the agenda?
Yes.
State your amendments.
I would like to change 11F to 90-day moratorium because 6 months is just, it's way too long. I think we can work it out a little quicker in 90 days. And the restrictions, I'd like to table the restrictions.
You wish to remove
11F, make the moratorium a 90-day. 180 days is way too long, in my opinion. And table the restrictions, the restrictions on the property.
Okay, table means that you're gonna have it on the table and it can be taken back up but in approving the agenda, I think you need to ask to remove it from the agenda.
Yeah, if you're gonna amend it by tabling that, that's a separate act from amending the agenda. So those have to be two different things.
From our parliamentarian.
So I need to ask to remove them from the agenda.
That's up to you, but if you can include removing it from the agenda in the amendment you're making right now. But if you're gonna table it, that has to be a separate action. So your amendment was to change it from 180 days to 90 days.
Right.
You could say, and remove those items. That puts all that together.
Okay.
Or if you want to just make the amendment to change it from 180 to 90, that can be voted on, and then you would have to amend it again to table those items.
Okay. So move it to 90 days and remove the restrictions.
If I may, I think 11F should be left intact until it makes it to the floor and then amend that while it's an item on the floor. That would be my, I guess, how I would like to see it go, so there would be discussion on it.
Technically, that would be the best way, because to amend the motion, it really needs to be made and seconded and open for discussion, and then you can amend it.
Okay, I'll bring it back up later.
Just to clarify, Commissioner Brown, the 180-day moratorium, when we get to that agenda item, there's a motion to approve, a second, then it's open for amendment. Then you can change it to 5 days if you want to and get the support for it. So, see what I'm saying? I think it makes it easier. And if you take it off, then this crowd that's sitting here is not going to speak to it during public comment, okay?
Well, I'm not going to take off the moratorium. I just want to remove the restrictions. But we'll bring it back.
Okay, and if you do that, these people aren't going to be able to speak to it that think they showed up to speak to it. You see what I'm saying? I just want everybody to understand how this works, because they can only speak to items on the agenda, and if you remove it, all these people have showed up, and nobody's going to get to speak to it.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. I mean, everybody's got to think about this stuff. All right, the second person, I think we've made that, would be Commissioner Benton Brown. You wish to speak to this agenda.
I withdraw my request.
You what?
I withdraw my request.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? I don't see it there. The motion made by Commissioner Reed, seconded by Commissioner Hirschman. The agenda is to be voted on as presented.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Unanimous. Okay, the agenda has been approved by 18 yes votes, unanimous. The next item on the agenda will be public comments. This one, there's a room full of people. We had 30-something names. Public comment, you must be a resident of Coffee County. I would, unless there's an objection, the way we conducted the public hearing regarding these things, the opposition was allowed to speak first because I think they had a single representative, and you know, redundancy and regurgitating comment just makes people's eyes and ears glaze over. So I'm going to open the floor up to public comment for people in opposition to the zoning resolution to change the zoning on the property owned by Randy Anderson on Old Manchester Highway. That is the first resolution in order of the agenda. Does anybody wish to speak to that opposition? Got a hand up in the back, please come forward. State your name and go ahead and speak.
I didn't know if you were ready.
Yeah, you're.
My name is Deborah Davenport. I live at 4238 Old Manchester Highway. I live there with my husband, Todd Davenport. We are here to discuss the property owned by Randy Anderson that's up for rezoning. We purchased our property 3 years ago, and we bought it for a reason. We bought it because it's in the rural part of Coffee County. And I'm not here to say that there's not other commercial property on the Old Manchester Highway, because we all know there is. But I'm just here to say that our community is rural. And I just ask that you would consider the fact that there's farmers there, there's cows, there's horses in that area. We enjoy a quiet life, small homesteaders in the area. And so I would just ask that you consider that when you're thinking about changing from residential to commercial, and considering what's best for Coffee County and whether or not you want that to be a commercial lot. And I thank you so much for your time.
Ms. Davenport, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
I want to ask you, do you feel like the process in which this individual asked to have his property rezoned and your ability to come here and speak to it to your elected officials, do you feel satisfied that this process is fair?
Yes, yes I do.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Is there anyone want to speak to the opposition to rezoning Randy Anderson's property? Does anybody want to speak in favor of it? Mr. Anderson, do you want to say anything again? I'm sorry, somebody got their hand up and I can't see it. Way back there.
Good evening, everyone. Nicholas Northcutt. I was the surveyor that surveyed Mr. Anderson's property, and I would just like to point out on his property that, when the zoning was done, a portion of his property is already commercial. I think it's commercial up to, it's 200 or 300 feet off of the highway. So it's leaving him with a small strip of land that lies in between an already commercial zone and the railroad that is still zoned RS1 because of an arbitrary zoning line that was struck through his property. What Mr. Anderson is asking the commission to vote on this evening is just to make his entire lot commercial rather than split zoning, and rather than leaving him with a an essentially unusable portion of residential property between his commercial property and the railroad tracks. I just wanted to make that clear that it is already commercial, he's just wanting it to all be commercial rather than split. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Northcutt. Guys, you cannot fathom how complex our zoning resolution is. And I'm going to have to apologize to everybody that this made it this far, because an obscure paragraph in our zoning resolution, let me back up a little bit. My good buddy Nick Graham asked me, he's got a piece of property that he wants to develop, and he's faced with much the same issue in that the urban growth boundaries, when they were drawn, bisected his large parcel out here on Highway 55. And he asked me he actually came in and met with me a few days ago, and I told him I'd research it. I told him yesterday in the work session that I would keep researching that. What I have found in our own zoning resolution, and I've had to apologize to Mr. Anderson, there's a sheet of paper laying on everybody's desk in front of them that has the descriptive language of the A1 Agricultural and Forestry District. That's a piece of text that I want everybody to read later. But at the top of the page, I want you to read that small paragraph. This is in the very first of our zoning resolution. Our own zoning codes enforcement department had overlooked this. This paragraph says, when a district boundary line divides a lot which was in single ownership at the time of passage of this ordinance, the regulations for either portion of the lot not to exceed 500 feet beyond the district line into which the remaining portion of the lot. That means he has half his C2, half his RS1. He can use either one of those uses for his entire property. His entire lot is only 420 feet deep, but he's allowed by our zoning resolution that he can go 500 feet on either side of that line for either zoning district use that is permitted. Having said that and found that information when I was doing my research for Nicholas Graham, I brought this to Mr. Anderson's attention prior to this meeting, so he had the option to walk away and I would ask to have this removed from the agenda. He essentially has RS1 lot or he has C2 lot. And I apologize to Ms. Davenport that you had to show up for this, but Mr. Anderson has elected to leave it on the agenda, so when this agenda item comes up, he wants it voted on to have his entire property C2. So I hated that I had to interrupt public comment. I'm not going to cut anybody's time on account of it, but that explanation needed to be put out there right now. So now, having gone by that item on the agenda, the next resolution number is zoning 2025-05. That is the resolution that changes the language regarding the A1 district only. It does not have any effect whatsoever on all other zoning districts. This resolution was this being proposed by unanimous, is the way I remember it, unanimous recommendation by our planning commission. It increases the minimum lot size in A1 district to 5 acres. Major subdivisions require a 50-foot right-of-way with 20 to 22 foot of asphalt surface when you build your subdivision. There's no language in there regarding what county public road dimensions it can connect to. So to get ahead of all of this, we feel like we need to drop back and punt, at least the planning commission. They recommend that the road connect to a county road with 50-foot right-of-way and 20-foot asphalt surface. That's the second one. The third one is change the language on fire flow, which is already in there. It says 6-inch diameter water line. We're added the language continuous to the point of origin. In other words, that means it's got to be 6-inch or larger all the way back to the utility provider. So just so everybody understands, that's the zoning resolution that is next on the agenda. So anybody that wants to speak in opposition to that, do you have a representative that you want to speak, or individuals that signed up are welcome to? Just anybody that needs to, first hand I see go up can come on up and speak. Go, come ahead. This will be Mr. Northcutt again.
Evening again, everyone. Nicholas Northcutt. I'd like to start out just by saying that as a citizen of Coffee County, I live in a rural area, and I hear the arguments that people have for needing good plan development. And some of the arguments are really good, but some of the arguments are not grounded in reality. And as a surveyor in this community, I have been tasked with knowing and applying these zoning rules. This gives me a unique insight as to how these new restrictions would impact everyday people. The simple fact is, these proposed changes will negatively affect the people of Coffee County by limiting what they can do with their land and depriving them of the full value of their property. These changes have been described as minute, and they're on your agenda tonight as one sub-item, but each of these items in and of themselves are huge, and they have long-reaching implications to people's ability to divide their property. These changes have been boiled down to simple land use, but it's more than that. It's a landowner's rights issue. It's an issue of choice. The common sentiment is that people should be able to do what they want with their land. But we all know you cannot let people just do what they want. Mayor Hunt has stated that there's an entire book dedicated to telling people what they can and can't do with their land. It's the zoning ordinance. These zoning rules are the responsibility of the county commission to create and the codes department to enforce. But the county already has very stringent rules regarding lot sizes, building setbacks, and fire protection, more so than most counties that we adjoin. I know this because I submit subdivision plats to multiple counties and multiple municipalities. We don't live in the Wild West. We have zoning and planning and codes already in place that protect us from shoddy or haphazard subdivisions. Whether or not you're going to divide your land, just the potential of dividing your land greatly increases your property value. So in a county that already has some of the most stringent zoning rules in place, the proposed changes will add more government, more restrictions, more red tape, and worst of all, uncertainty to one's ability to divide. I can't tell you how many times somebody has come into my office and wanted a small subdivision or just a one-lot subdivision. And when I start explaining everything that has to happen, it just blows their minds how much goes into this. There's already a lot of rules, and it's already very complicated as it is. In regards to the 5-acre minimums, Mr. Hunt has stated that there are pathways to divide less than 5 acres. However, this is only a possibility through variances or rezoning through the county commission. You know as well as I that this reduces one's ability to divide to the opinion of the commissions. This is a very dangerous and slippery slope where if you know the right people, you can divide. And if you don't know the right people, you might not get to divide. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen, and it's an easily won lawsuit at that. When this first was proposed at the planning commission meeting, it was stated that it was for the protection of farmland. But these restrictions hurt farmers by limiting what they can do with their property. If it's a matter of protecting farmland, there are already numerous ways that this can be done today. There's conservation easements and trusts that can be put on the property that will ensure that it will never be developed and always be used for agriculture. Oftentimes you get tax breaks for implementing these easements. The important thing is that it's the choice of the farmer how to best manage their land. The other unfortunate thing about saying it's about farmland is that there is a lot of land in the county that is vacant property. And this vacant property is not farmland. I live on 13 acres. My neighbor's got 25. My other neighbor's got 20 and 30 and 40. And none of them are farmers. And none of them are going to be farmers. And it's not going to be farmland. Yet this vacant land is getting swept up in the wave of these other restrictions in the name of protecting farmland. On the issue of infrastructure, it's been stated that other reasons for slowing development is to allow for infrastructure to catch up to the growth. But I would argue that it takes population and rooftops to make infrastructure improvements. The evidence of this lies in the facts. I asked the Codes Department how many major developments in the past 10 years were approved where roads and water infrastructure was installed. These are the very type of developments that these new restrictions are intended to curb. His answer was that in the past, he didn't know about 10 years, but he said, I've been the codes enforcer for the last 9 years. And in the last 9 years, until we submitted ours 2 months ago, there had been none. There had been no major developments that were approved in the past 9 years. The chairman of the Planning Commission once told me that the best growth is slow growth. So if slow growth is what is needed to bring our infrastructure up, well, how much slower can we get than none in 9 years? If there has been such slow growth for the past decade, then why isn't our infrastructure ready for this growth that we're most likely about to receive? The simple answer is that it takes additional tax revenue to make necessary improvements. And there's only 2 ways of getting tax revenue. You either raise taxes or you have additional population. This is not a cart before the horse type situation, because what good is the cart if you don't have a horse to pull it? On the issue of water, many people say that they're worried about their water pressure and that we should not have any more developments until water infrastructure can improve. But the fact is that taxpayer dollars do not go towards water improvements in the county. The water providers are their own separate entities. Hillsville has some plans in place with Manchester City to improve certain areas. But by and large, the only way that there will ever be upgrades to water infrastructure in the county is through an increase in population. Otherwise, why hasn't it happened yet? Also, I've seen the issue of water availability kill major developments in the county. I know of 2 of them in the Beach Grove area that were shot out of the water, sorry, no pun intended, due to water availability. In other words, there are already safeguards in place to prevent issues for existing residents and their water service. If it's a matter of fire protection, then maybe our requirements should be more accommodating to other ways of providing fire protection. You can cross the county line into Warren County. The water provider is the same and the water lines are the same, but they allow for different kinds of hydrants there. You can put a hydrant on a 4-inch line there, or you can install fill stations or blow-off valves that meet their requirements there.
Nick, with all due respect, do you feel like that you're going to be the only one to speak for your side, or are there others? Okay.
Yes,
Roll
sir, I'll
on.
be the only one speaking. May I go on?
Sure, I said go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe rather than halting all growth in this county, we should revisit our fire protection requirements. Either way, we should leave the issue of water availability to the professionals. If the water providers say they can supply a development, then why would the county want to step in with unattainable requirements for water? On the issue of roads, according to the Coffee County right-of-way chart, excluding state roads, only 12% of the roads in Coffee County meet the criteria on this proposed restriction. This is in essence telling 88% of landowners in the rural areas that they don't have the option for a major development. I would also argue again that it should be up to the Coffee County Road Superintendent to tell whether or not a road can support a particular development, because he or she is the professional who knows more about roads than any of us. It just goes to show that the proposed road requirements are also unreasonable. In closing, this has been spun into a farmer versus developer issue or a growth versus non-growth issue. But these changes affect everyone in Coffee County, whichever side you're on. I see it every day. For the vast majority of people in this county, their land is their most valuable asset. It's their nest egg, it's their retirement. I just spoke with a man yesterday that's having to sell 2.5 acres of 10 acres of land to pay for a back surgery. I see the single income and new families that can't afford a decent house. I see the widows or the heirs to a family estate that are forced to sell. These are the everyday people that will suffer the most from these changes. The farmers will be fine. The developers will be fine. It's going to be the regular citizen that will bear the brunt of these restrictions by being severely limited with what they can do with their property. It's simply a matter of choice. I consider myself a servant of Coffee County, not unlike y'all. And in my opinion, the people of Coffee County deserve the best opportunities that we can provide. And if that opportunity comes in the form of dividing and selling their property, then the county should help these people and not be a stumbling block. I've worked here for the past 25 years for farmers and developers and everyday people mostly. I've invested in this community, I work in Manchester, and I live in the county. If I'm anything, I am pro-Coffee County, and what I'm seeing being proposed tonight is very concerning. My concern over the impact of these changes is why I am compelled to stick my neck out at the risk of my business and my reputation. But I'm not the only one concerned. There are many others concerned. In 5 days, we've generated roughly 700 signatures to a petition to be against these changes. Representative Rush Bricken even signed it. Governor Bill Lee has said, they're trying to put initiatives in place because Tennessee needs housing. I ask that you reject the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. If you will not vote to reject these changes, then I would ask that you defer the vote until the commission has a more clear understanding of the far-reaching impacts of these new restrictions. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter this evening, and we all appreciate the hard work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Is there anybody else in opposition to this zoning resolution amendment that wishes to speak? that did not already give Nick their time? Anyone? Okay. We'll shift to those that support. I'm sorry, somebody, you got to be loud and proud. Come on to the podium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I won't be long-winded. Several of you heard what I had to say earlier. In moving back around among the crowd that opposed this, several ideas were presented to me. You know, I've been in this area since seventh grade. I'm from a farm in Hillsboro that belonged to my family. I guess I had to leave the farm because we had to sell it. You couldn't make much money on it because back at that time we didn't have enough land to put it together. But nonetheless, I'm now a developer in the real estate business. I've been in that business 60 years. A lot of you all are too young to remember when I came to town and I went in business. I was the young guy. I didn't know anything. I butted my head against the old guys that had all the power and had all the money. We often said, they've got theirs, they don't want you to get yours. And sometimes one of the members back here said, you know, it just seems that that's that way again. Having Nick, having a lot of the people talk about this, there's one other point. For the first time that I can remember in this particular area, we have an opportunity to grow like we have never grown before. How many people would like to have another grocery store? How many people would like to have a theater? In the city. Yeah. Well, those people that bring those to these towns, they're looking for door counts. You've got to have so many people in your area before they're going to bring something and invest their money in it. We have that opportunity now to have these things. We've got 2,000 megasite just bought, dedicated out here. We're the only megasite in the state of Tennessee. The people that are going to come and build those factories out there, those industries, the first thing they come to ask is, how many houses will you have for my people to live in? Right now, we are very deficient. Right now, I would say that if a large corporate entity looked at us, they would not come because of those reasons. There are concerns, and I share this group's concerns too. They're very valid. But all I say, if you can't get together, let's put this off and study it. We need to bring Hillsville, we need to bring the road committee, we need to get together, and we have for the first time addressed the deficiencies in this county that really this zoning doesn't address and may make it hard. Thank you for your attendance and attention. I don't envy your job, but I appreciate you doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles Miller. Anyone else? We're going to be fair. I don't care how long. I personally don't care how long this takes, as long as everybody gets heard that wants to speak. Anybody else in opposition? Those in favor, somebody raise their hand. First one up gets to talk first, unless you have a representative you'd like to send forward, just as we allowed the other side.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Janon. I stand before you not for the first time, but once again fighting to protect our rural communities. Back in 2021, I stood in this very room to fight against a quarry that would have disrupted the land, our way of life, and the people who've lived here for generations. We won that fight because we stood together as a community and demanded better. I represent many people in my Beech Grove area who reached out to me asking to speak on their behalf. So here we are again, this time fighting against unchecked overdevelopment that threatens to do the same thing in a different way. 2 years ago, Mr. Northcott stood in this very room and spoke against rezoning that was requested for Q1. He stood firmly against the Watersons and their efforts to establish a quarry, arguing that it was not in the best interest of the community. Yet tonight, we hear arguments that this moratorium violates property rights. If that were truly the case, why did property rights suddenly not matter when it came to stopping the quarry back then? The hypocrisy is clear. You cannot pick and choose when property rights matter based on who benefits. If you stood against rezoning then, you cannot turn around and claim that developers should have unchecked control over agricultural land that was zoned to protect our rural way of life. This isn't about property rights, it's about profit. It's about who benefits and who loses when we ignore zoning protections. So I have to ask you, our elected leaders, what are you going to leave us over in the rural areas? What happens when all that's left are subdivisions with no proper infrastructure, overcrowded roads, and strained emergency services? We aren't asking to stop growth. We're asking for a plan. I don't know that there's a perfect solution, but what has been proposed is a step in the right direction. We're asking you to stand by the words many of you have spoken in one-on-one conversations to me, that you support slow, smart, and responsible growth. This moratorium is your opportunity to prove that you are listening to the people, to prove that rural residents matter just as much as developers. I have fought for this county before, and I will continue to fight for it now. But tonight, I'm asking for you to do your job. Protect the people who are already here, not the invisible people who could be moving here someday. To prove just how money-hungry some of those in opposition are, Mr. Charles approached me tonight with no shame asking to buy my land on Gosberg. Please vote yes on the moratorium and show us that A1 zoning in Coffee County is worth protecting. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next, who would like to speak?
My name is Quinn Sullivan. I live here in Coffee County. I want to bring the attention to the A1 zoning rule in our book here. The very first sentence, this district is intended to preserve space for agricultural and forestry use, which together comprise an important segment of the economy of Coffee County. The primary intent of A1 district is to minimize conflict between agriculture and forestry activities and various non-farm activities to permit land best suited for the intense agricultural use to be preserved for these suited purpose, and to prevent land unsuitable for development and other urban non-rural nature due to topographical problems, location, or inability to provide necessary urban service. From being encroached upon the incompatibility of land use. These areas assigned to A1 district are primary areas where growth of urban or non-rural nature is deemed undesirable for more of the reason outlined above. It goes on and says, A1 district is a primary rural district. It also provides for low-density residential development with lot size for single-family development, being more restricted than C1. In the rural center district, the following regulations shall apply in the A1 agricultural forestry district defined in our zoning map of Coffee County. I think the amendment raising the lot size to 5 acre fits this description very well. We're talking about low density. Putting a major development out in the rural area is not low density. Right now, the book is open. No doubt there's many developments that's on the plans. At this time, we have no idea how many houses will be coming out in our rural area. this 5-acre lot, creating a little farmettes, ranchettes, or whatever, fits more in this rural area than a major subdivision. These minors, of what is telling y'all, is designed to go out in A1. Like the lady before me, I have to agree with what she said. Year after year, our rural area has been encroached on. Somewhere it's got to stop. We got the rules here to do it. We don't want to, we're not stripping anybody's land rights away. We're not trying to keep them from making money on their property. But somewhere there's got to be a land draw in the sand. And I think this moratorium is needed to do a comprehensive study, what's best, what was fair for all parties. I cannot agree with Mr. Northcutt at all on some of his conclusion. It does not make sense. And I do not agree with a lot of the comments, negative comments, that's been out on social media. Putting 5 acres out in the rural area is not going to make it a big trailer park. What it will do, though, will make instead of having maybe a $200,000 or $300,000 home, will attract more of the 500, 600, 700 or better size home on these lots. At the same time, we don't want to create a situation where we're in the farming community. We start developing with subdivision. The first thing they're going to do is start complaining about smell, noise, dirt on the road. We just had this conversation today. What will happen when we start spreading chicken manure on our fields next to a subdivision? They're going to complain to this office up here. What's going to happen when these farm tractor leaves the fields, combines? We leave dirt on the road. It's part of the process. Wish we can claim most of it off, but we can't. I'm as guilty as anybody. These people living in these subdivisions don't want their nice, clean cars covered in mud. There's always going to be a conflict here by putting a high-density residential area in our rural A1 district. And last but not least, most of the people are already here. We bought our property at the time as it was zoned A1. We looked up what the restriction was. So now everybody that's living in the rural area, we must have to compromise, or some of y'all are asking us to compromise our lifestyle. We bought our property as it was zoned. We're asking y'all to leave it that way. So we don't have to have a big major compromise. So we're asking y'all tonight to support the moratorium and vote yes on lot size of 5 acre or bigger in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Who else wants to speak to this in support?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sean Jones again, multi-generational farmer. Like's been stated before me, it's been misinterpreted entirely. You know, Mr. Northcutt stated he's got 700 signatures. If you read the petition, it says nothing regarding A1 and rural areas. Nothing. He is making people think, or whoever made the petition, I ain't saying he did, whoever made the petition is making people think we're taking their land rights away from them. Everybody. Don't matter if you live in Manchester or you live in Tullahoma. They're trying to take my rights from me, and we're not. We are wanting the moratorium as a thinking period. That's it. Think about what you're fixing to do. Evaluate everything. Okay, we're going to put it here. What's that going to affect? Okay, we're going to do this and this. Well, that's going to affect this. Okay, it's going to cycle down to this, to this. Work out everything. See what you're going to affect. Instead of building the houses and then think, well, we shouldn't have done that. You know, we've got to go back and all these homeowners got to pay to have this done. Okay, that didn't work, so we got to try over again. Another thing, majority of the people who are not for this seem to profit from it. Real estate agents, developers, etc. I mean, I don't like having land jerked away from me as a farmer, but it happens. It happens every day. There's a lot of farmers in this room, and we all compete for land. You know, it was brought up to me yesterday that a post was put on social media about Anybody that has work pulled from this should file a lawsuit with the city. I think the correct terminology was take your crayon and go up there and fill it out, if that was correct. Well, if it pulls work from them, can every farmer in the county go up there and file a lawsuit when good farmland is taken from them? If it's next door to me, don't mean I farm it. Michael Bryan might farm it. Anybody might farm it. Any open parcel of land is up for rent at any time. Dennis, I used to farm your place. Do I still farm it? Absolutely not. So every farmer in Coffee County could file a lawsuit if they wanted to. Franklin County, Warren County, whatever, because farmers are going to travel for land. It's going to happen. All right. Let's see. Again, this does not include Manchester, Tullahoma. It's A1. It's rural areas. My way of thinking, and I might be wrong, if you implement this for the rural areas, it might bring more growth to the city, because you might have somebody move here. Well, I want a house today. I've got to have a house today. Well, I can't get that one. We got a waiting period on that one, so I'll go over here and I'll buy this one. That's just my thoughts. I might be wrong. 5-acre lot size. They make it sound like that's a drastic thing. At the last meeting, it was put into that, I believe, that you could divide your 5-acre lot to a relative. Is that correct?
No, it would be, I want to clarify so the facts are out there, it would be available to minor subdivision by variance by the Planning Commission,
Yes.
not the BZA. That is in TCA, that the Planning Commission can grant minor subdivisions to smaller parcels. So it doesn't
you
have to
could
be a
take your
family
5 acres
member.
and
It
divide
does
it.
not have to be a family member.
It doesn't have to be a family.
It does not.
Okay. But like was said before me, 5 acres is going to attract more, I guess, more high-dollar buyers, so to speak. And I understand why people would be against it. If I'm a real estate agent, do I want to sell this house in 5 acres for $750,000, or do I want to sell one house on 1 acre 5 times for $500,000? I'm no math genius, but you know, the number's there. Let's see. The road deal. It's 50-foot right of way and 20-foot of asphalt. It's been misinterpreted. People think we're wanting to put 50-foot asphalt. It's 20-foot to 22-foot of asphalt is what was stated. 50-foot right of way. And right of way is from the center. Is that correct, Dennis?
The right of way would
from the
be
center of the
parcel
road?
line to parcel line.
Okay. Let's see. Bringing work to Coffee County. If you build 1,000 houses out here, how many of them people are going to work here? They're going to travel. You know, same as I stated before, when you go to build the houses, how many people are in Coffee County are actually going to build that house? We'll sell supplies to build that house. You can go up here to Home Depot and buy 1 stick of PVC pipe for X amount of dollars, or you can send a truck to Nashville and get a whole lot more of it for cheaper. Well, if I'm building a bunch of houses, I'm going that route because I want to make every penny I can make. A big issue for me on the fire flow in my area, I've talked to different ones. If my house caught on fire today, it would take, I was told, 20 to 30 minutes before a truck to go and get more water if it didn't have enough on it when it got there. It would take 20 to 30 minutes to take it to refill and get back to my house. I would think, this is just my take on this, if I buy one of these houses that is not suitable fire flow, Lord forbid it catches on fire. Say I lose a loved one in there. That's tragic for anybody. I would not wish that on anybody. Say I get to digging. Okay, well, this was passed and they knew it didn't have substantial fire flow. They could have put this out if the truck didn't have to go 20 minutes to get water. They had it under control until that truck had to leave. When they got back, it was too late. I'm going to do some digging, and I'm fixing to start suing some people. That's just me. Because it don't matter how much amount of money it is, nothing's going to bring a loved one back. It's not. But I'm very partial to this. Like I said, I'm a multi-generational farmer. This hits me deeply. I'm blessed to be able to farm my grandfather's place. You know, we live in a beautiful part of the country, and I want to keep it that way. Anybody, it don't matter what state they come from, they come to our farm to buy something, just to visit, whatever, they will tell you, you live in God's country. That's what it is. That's the most beautiful view I've ever seen in my life, and we want to keep it that way. But the big thing that I can't stress again is this is for rural. This has no effect on Tullahoma, Manchester at all. We live in the country for a reason. You know, my daddy was born and raised on that farm. I was born and raised on that farm, and I'm raising my girls on that farm. And I hope one day maybe I'll get a boy on that farm, but it's not looking promising. But just give it a lot of thought. And like I said, this is not canceling development for the whole county at all. It's simply putting a pause to think about it. If you go to buy a new vehicle, do you not research it? Do you not think about everything? Well, I'd like to have one with that option on it. Okay, well, if I get that option, I can get it in this package, and I get this, this, and this. It's simply doing your homework. That's all it is. You know, I'm not the greatest public speaker in the world. Mr. Pettihoe can vouch for that. He tried to teach me that for years, but just give it a lot of thought. You know, do you want this to happen to you? Just think long and hard about it. You know, put personal reasons aside and just focus. You know, do you want this to happen where you live? And that's all I got. You know, I can't talk much longer. I get emotional.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. If you guys notice, we've been very lenient because I assumed of the 40-something signatures we had to speak that everybody was willing to concede their time to the present speaker. So moving on, does anybody else want to speak in support of these resolution 2025-25? Yes, ma'am.
This may come as a shock, but I'm not a farmer. I'm Christy Conley, and I do live out in Beech Grove. And like Janon said, we were here in 19 and 20. Half of you remember, because half of you were on commission then, fighting the rezoning of the quarries. At that time, we were told we were the 3% of the county, and we really could lose that part to quarrying. It wanted to be across. So between 19 and 20, we have fought rock quarries coming into our county all across our agricultural areas. We now have a mega site, and now we're fighting residential areas in our agriculture area as well. Mr. Seaborn, I know nothing about Tullahoma and what's going on over there, but I do know what we are fighting over here. I moved here 16 years ago for work. I'm an Air Force veteran. 10 years ago, I met and married my husband, who is a local boy. He's an avid hunter, and so are his boys growing up in this area. They're losing everything they have when it comes to our farmlands and our agricultural areas out in the Grove. Everything that these neighborhoods could have, we do have within the UGB, and that's something we have enforced along the way as well to protect where we moved intently. I've been around the world. I've seen many things. I'm also from Houston, Texas, Concrete City. So I moved out to Beech Grove with the intention of knowing that I would have the open lands and the safety out there. All of that was going to be threatened when we did the first fight. So now I have these farmers out here going against the same fight to protect their rights and their land and the zoning in which they intently have it. So, I mean, I basically stand here with them and I just see across from a single point, you have quarries, you have a mega site, and now you have residential development. What is going to be left for our children in the future? I don't care about these residential homes in the city. Out in the country, we live there intently. That is our serenity. I had numerous veterans that did not want the blowing and the blasting of the quarrying out there as well. So when it comes to all this stuff being taken away, we're losing it. My kids will have nothing down the road.
That's it, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Conley. Okay, I'm going to say we got about 5 more minutes that can be allowed for this subject in support of this zoning resolution. If one more person wants to speak, please move forward quickly.
Can I ask you a question, Dennis?
Sure.
There's a gentleman sitting here that owns hundreds of acres in Coffee County, but he doesn't reside in Coffee County. He farms, but owns hundreds of acres. Would you allow him the opportunity to speak?
Can he be my representative?
Sure. I think he's allowed to.
So he's Sharon Lynch's representative.
Try to keep it short.
I won't go through the same spiel I went earlier, but I think that my name's Mike Bryan. I farm in Asbury, Hillsboro. I do live in Rutherford County. I grew up here. I live in Rutherford County because my folks got divorced. That's the way it worked out, but I've been down here my whole life. I've been down here every other weekend over the summer, and I'd love to be here. I've got kids in school and I can't. But I do care about this community, and I do care about how growth has occurred because I've got first-hand experience watching Rutherford County not have the infrastructure, not have the things in place. I've heard surveyors and planners, just like Mr. Northcutt, get up and say the same thing up there in planning commission meetings and in front of the commissioners up there. What we have here tonight is a unique opportunity not only to decide what the future for Coffee County looks like, but how it's going to affect everybody and make it fair for everyone. The real estate agents, the developers, the builders have every right to do with their property as they wish, but we in the rural community have the right to fight back and have a say in it as well. These proposals tonight, the 5-acre one, the rezoning, when it has an opportunity to come in front of you versus the planning commission, Steve and the planning commission can't consider anything but true facts. Emotion has no bearing on their decision. They can't go look at our communities. They can't drive out and see where that development's going. It's against state law. You put the hands back in the elected officials, it becomes a democratic process in which people have a say. That's what we're asking. And what we're asking for in the moratorium is to take a pause, make wise, judicious decisions for our communities. Yes, it doesn't affect Manchester, it doesn't affect Tullahoma, and it doesn't affect the UGB. I agree with the question earlier. Nick owns the Buffalo Farm. Where you at, Nick? All right, he's out. But that should be all UGB. It shouldn't be part. That's crazy, right? But that's where we should be building houses, in the UGB. It should be growth from concentric circles from municipalities out to the boundaries of the county where the infrastructure is in place and it doesn't cost current landowners higher taxes and a harder lifestyle that they didn't buy their property initially to be in that lifestyle. Like I said, I've seen it in Rutherford County. It's crazy. I drive from Rockville to here. It takes me almost as long to get 7 miles to the interstate as it does to drive from the interstate to Manchester. Now, if you want to do that here, more power to you, but I don't want to drive my tractor in. I don't want to see people getting killed. Traffic is a concern. Infrastructure is a concern. These roadways, when you've got a combine 17-foot wide and you've got an 18-foot wide road and you've got school buses and semi-trucks leaving a cheese factory out here coming down the road fast, where the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, that is a hazard. Add 39 houses or 100 houses or whatever out on these country roads, it becomes a safety issue. We're asking for you to take a pause, take a deep breath, and think about how that affects things. Make it work for everybody. That's a moratorium. The Planning Commission would not have requested it had they not needed 180 days. They talked about the 90 days. I was at the meeting. They said that's not enough time. We need time to review our A1 rules. They think they can get it done in 180 days. Let's give them a chance to get it done, get it right, and let's move forward, this side and this side, together. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I might have assumed something. I'm going to ask our parliamentary. When we took a vote to suspend the rules for the business item, was it okay for me to allow him to speak?
He was speaking as a representative of the county. Some person gave him permission to speak.
Okay.
As a representative. That was
Okay.
all right.
I just want to be sure I didn't know the body and the audience an apology regarding procedure.
We have one more person who wants to speak. She lives on the Bedford County line, Bedford and Coffee County line. Would
Are they a Coffee County resident?
I'm not, no, I'm a Bedford County Beach Grovian.
I think we've stretched it a little far. I think everybody's got the gist of this, and when we get the body is going to get to ask a few questions when we get to this item on the agenda, there will be a period for the body members to ask questions and maybe clarify any statements made. So moving on, and one statement, I could say this, but Tennessee Code annotated 13-3402, paragraph lowercase d, real simple paragraph, a regional planning commission may grant variances to subdivision regulations if such variances are adopted at a public meeting of the commission. A real simple one sentence. So that is what this resolution would do if this body approves it. We can take, if you got 5 acres and you want to give your kid one, all you got to do is come to the planning commission and they'll allow you to do it if it meets road frontage. But let's move along with the agenda now. Thanks everyone for showing up, sharing your thoughts on this. I know it's an emotional issue for a lot of people. So the next item on the agenda is resolutions of memorial, sympathy, proclamation, review, and I'm sorry, I put a check mark by it and I ain't even got to it yet. The review and approval of the minutes from our last commission meeting. Motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Morris, seconded by Commissioner Benton Brown. You wish to speak to the minutes, Commissioner Morris? Anyone else wish to speak to the minutes? Ready to vote, please. Mrs. Computer Operator.
Yes.
We have 18 yes approving the minutes from the last commission meeting. Now we're ready for number 8, resolution of memorial, sympathy, proclamations, and commendations. A UT Extension Office proclamation. I would like to ask, is Amy in here? Amy. Commissioner Jimmy Hollingsworth, you are on our Ag Committee. Would you please present this to Amy Willis? You'll get your picture made. You wore that pretty leather coat. You can stand at the podium and read the proclamation, pretty please.
This proclamation of Coffee County proclamation by the county mayor, wherewithal the University of Tennessee and Tennessee's Land Grant University, and has a 3-part mission of teaching, research, and extension. And wherewithal the extension is outreach arm of the university and an integral part of the land grant mission, extended knowledge, expertise of the university by the people of Tennessee through education delivered by grants, specialists, and volunteers in all 95 counties and the state. And the extension is to be a valuable resource for helping citizens to resolve problems, provide real-life solutions in place they live, work, play through hundreds of programs. Wherewithal the extension efforts are based on local needs, research, and commitment to improve the quality of life. Also, the extension agricultural program and 4-H youth development, agricultural and natural resources, family, connoisseur, science, community economic development produce substantial returns to the state. And also, the recent assessment indicates that every $1 in public funds invested into the extension program returns an estimated $8.29 million to the people of Tennessee. Wherewithal, I, Dennis Hunt, Mayor of Coffee County, do hereby proclaim March as UT Extensions Month.
Amy Willis Prince, do you wish to make a statement at all and tell us briefly what you do every day?
Well, you absolutely put me on the spot, but that is okay. So I'll turn this way too.
if you didn't know, Extension is part of the University of Tennessee. We have offices in all 95 counties of the state, and we work in agriculture, family and consumer sciences, and 4-H. So we are here for all of the people of Coffee County to provide those real-life solutions to you through research-based information. And I want to thank the County Commission for the proclamation, and we did leave you a little memento there for Extension Month, and there's some swag outside. So as you go, grab some koozies, grab some pins, calendars, and just thank y'all for your support of Extension programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. Thank you, Commissioner Hollingsworth, for making that presentation. He is a member of our Ag Committee. This would be a resolution that we should vote on, I believe.
Yes.
Thank you for that. We had 18 affirmative votes for this recognition of our UT Extension office. Y'all don't know how hard I tried to get a UT Agricultural Institute campus out here on that mega site, and they hadn't ruled out a facility for our UTSI Extension agents. They said the chancellor of the Agricultural Institute did tell me that that would be on the table, that they may ask for a little bit of property to give them more room. So we look forward to that. All right, the elections, appointments, and confirmations. The notaries were approved by unanimous consent. We had a resignation on the opioid abatement funds disbursement committee, and the mayor has appointed Dr. Jeff Keel to fill that vacancy. I would entertain a motion for that one position approval. That would be 9B1. I have a motion by Commissioner DeFord, seconded by Commissioner Miller. You wish to speak to this, Commissioner DeFord? Anyone else? Discussion? Okay, let's vote, please.
Yes.
That appointment was approved with 18 yes votes. Thank you for that. 9B2, we have term expirations on our Regional Planning Commission. The appointment of Randy Harrell, his term expired this year. We have, this is one of these times when I got to explain stuff. The Tennessee Code Annotated requires that all regional planning commissions have a makeup of ethnic individuals of the ethnicity equal to the percentage of the ethnic makeup of the county. We have had an individual that has served with honor on our Regional Planning Commission, Mr. Paul Elam. He is an African-American individual, and he does live in the rural areas, and he farms, and he's been an asset to this county through his service. He has got health issues. His term actually expired in January of 2024. Due to the prerequisites of eligibility imposed upon the mayor who makes the appointment, I have found it next to impossible to find either an African American or a Hispanic willing to serve. I've reached out to Tiny Sutherland, you know him, Jackie. He thought about it for a couple of weeks. He would have been a great asset, but he said, man, I'm retired. I just don't want to do it. I've reached out to some of the community leaders in our local Hispanic community to no avail. I've interviewed several that live in the city. That's not allowed. They must be a rural resident. So Laura Vasquez, who is a property owner, tax-paying citizen of Coffee County, lives out on Asbury Road, has been in the United States for 32 years. She's sharp as a tack. She'll be an asset to our planning commission. So I hope you approve these two nominations to these two appointments to our regional planning commission. Motion by Commissioner DeFord, seconded by Commissioner Reed. Any discussion on these? Please vote. I'm sorry. It just now showed up. Commissioner Hirschman.
Are we voting for both of them at one time? Because
Yes, it's 9B2 is two names for the planning
Okay,
commission.
I just want to make sure because on our screens it's only showing one.
It's been broke out. I think they changed that to vote 2 times.
Well, that's not the way it's printed, so. Yeah. And see, I don't see the screen. I'm not seeing the screen that the members are seeing. So, yeah, the motion to approve, Commissioner, let's see, who made it? Now I'm not looking. Mr. DeFord, would you like to amend your motion to make both nominations concurrent?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay.
That'll mess the machine up.
That messes her up. Love technology. Okay, let's vote on the Randy Harrell. That's number 1 then? Is that the way it is on your? Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. I had put up there that I would like to speak. I had a list here of the the Coffee County Planning Commission, and I just had a question of clarity. Mr. Randy Harrell is already listed here as vice, and it says appointed 2021 and expires 2029. So could I get some explanation while we're voting on him if his expiration doesn't run out till 29?
It's a typographical error. He was appointed in 2021 to a 4-year term. His term expired in January of 2025.
Okay, so we're reappointing.
Reappoint. He is a reappointment.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Then it will be 2029. You know.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry I overlooked that, but when the screen changed, I did not see your request to speak. And you need to vote, please. Thank you.
18 yes.
18 yes, thank you for that. So we got to move to 9B2-a, I guess, whatever y'all are looking at would be the appointment of Laura Vasquez. We have a motion by Commissioner DeFord, seconded by Commissioner Reed. You wish to speak to this, Commissioner DeFord?
I know Ms. Vasquez personally, and she'll be a great asset.
Thank you for that. No other discussion. Let's vote, please.
Yes.
18 yes, thank you so much. This unfinished business, 10A, policy and procedures. That was one that was on our agenda last month and decided it probably ought to go back to legislative. It got approved, so motion to approve. while we're waiting on the computer, I'll explain that one to the crowd. That has to do with Coffee County paying for training for an individual for the position of employment in the county. And once they receive the training, they would leave to seek employment somewhere else. There's a certain amount of time in which they would have to reimburse the county for the training in which we paid for, that the taxpayers paid for. Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Hodge. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please.
Yes.
That 18 affirmative votes on that, thank you. Moving to new business, 11A. Do you guys, are you gonna have to vote on these one at a time? Miss Computer Girl? Okay. All right, 11A, recognition of the final bid for the new health department and contractor selection. Motion by Commissioner Stubblefield, seconded by Commissioner Morris. Commissioner Stubblefield, you wish to speak to this? You do not. Commissioner Morris, do you wish to speak to it? Commissioner Hurstman, you have to speak to it. He is chairman of our Capital Outlay Committee.
After receiving 9 bids for the Coffee County Health Department, we selected Boyce Ballard Construction out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, to perform the construction of the building project. The site work is almost at, I think, around 75 to 85% complete. So we're looking forward to getting this project under contract. I've seen the contracts already have been produced, and they're waiting for signatures. So it's moving right along.
Thank you for that. We're going to vote just to recognize the fact that we have made it to the almost finish line. We have 18 yes, recognizing the selection of the health department contractor. 11B would be recognition of the final bid for the new animal shelter and contractor selection. We have a motion by Commissioner Nettles, seconded by Commissioner Watkins. Commissioner Nettles, you wish to speak to this?
I do not.
Okay. Commissioner Watkins? Okay. Guys, this one, the health department and animal control, you cannot fathom the hurdles that a governmental entity has to jump and clear them. You can't knock them over. You got to clear these hurdles that we've went through with the ARP funding that went into both of them. A lot of people I know is getting antsy about this, but it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of personal contributions of time, money, real estate has went into the animal control facility, and I know the former mayor had his heart in it. We had our former commissioners, Ashley Kraft and Margaret Cunningham, were working on it with due diligence prior to that. It's been in the making a long, long time, and I'm sure the community and the taxpayers are glad that we're where we are with that. Anyone want to speak to that? Ready to vote, please. Huh? Again? I'm sorry. Go ahead. You should have punched your button.
I should have. So after quite a few problems that we had through the bid process. We got them worked out. We were selected Romac Construction out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They came in close to our budget line, but we know we have some funds that are available still to take care of that contract. I know that I did not mention the health department came inside our budget, so we're in great shape there. And looking forward for this one to getting going. I know that the people that donated the land to us, Tom and Karen Rice, and their family, that they are very excited that we got it bid and this process is almost done.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurstman. And I'd be remiss if I did not recognize him and his expertise in both of these projects. His contractor background has been invaluable to the process, and we're certainly glad to have him on board. Everybody's voting.
18 yes.
18 yes, thank you guys. New business is 11C. Grant application notification, that's an attachment for the VFW, which will allow the parking lot and driveway to be paved. It's gravelled right now. We have our service veterans that frequent that place quite often, and the driveway, some of them may, be in wheelchairs and what have you, and therefore it's hard to navigate out there. So we're hoping we can get this grant and get that driveway and parking area paved. That's 11C1. Have a motion by Commissioner Hurstman, seconded by Commissioner Morris. Any discussion? If not, let's vote. That's 18 yes. Thank you for that. 11C2, repair the floor, replace the flooring, ceiling tiles, replace all appliances in the community room. I'm sure some of you in here have used that room and it's in pathetic condition, and we're going to address that. So that is a $50,000 expenditure. This is not a grant, right, Mariana? We're just spending the money where the budget and finance has or has not.
It's a grant.
It is a grant.
It's a pre-grant.
See, I don't say that on here, but I'm not looking at the attachment. I'm just trying to follow the agenda. So.
The Lowe's hometown.
Got you. Okay, we're ready to vote. Motion by Benton Brown. I didn't get to see who seconded it because the screen changed.
Smith.
Everybody vote.
Not yet.
Benton Brown, you need to vote. There you go.
18 yes.
All right, 18 yes. Thank you for that. So now we're on 11C3. Is Andy Fair in the building? All right, this is a no cost to Coffee County. He's getting some election machine carts that protect the election machines during transport. The state of Tennessee will reimburse us after we pay for them. Motion by Commissioner Benton Brown, seconded by Commissioner Hodge. No discussion. We're ready to vote.
18 yes.
18 yes, thank you for that. Next item on the agenda are budget amendments. Can we do, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
You're
would it be
recognized.
possible to give everybody a 15-minute break?
You know what? I was wanting to get through these budget amendments, and then I was gonna ask if the commissioner, now the crowd, they can come and go as they please, but y'all can't, so yeah, I was absolutely gonna suggest that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Unless everybody feels like they gotta go right now, you know, can we get through the budget amendments? In 5, or you want 5 right now? Right now, okay, we're gonna take a recess. Do we need to vote on a recess? Need a motion for recess, only the body can do that.
Second. Motion to recess, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Get up and line up at the bathrooms.
What'd you do to it? I mean, we were playing games on it.
I know where there's a bathroom.
Stand up a minute.
All right, guys, all commissioners to their battle stations, please. Are they working on it? She'll vote for you, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I would like to ask the audience to please calm down, quiet down, please. All commissioners to their seat. All right, everyone, the business meeting of Coffee County's legislative body is now back in order. The next item on the agenda that we did not address yet is budget amendments. That's 11D. And I was going to ask the computer girls, are we going to have to vote on those one at a time? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Hirschman, seconded by Commissioner Watkins for the general fund tourism. You want to explain that?
This is for lighting at the Coffee County Courthouse, accent lighting.
Anybody got any questions or comments? We're ready to vote, please.
18 yes.
18 votes yes. Thank you for that. 11D2, general fund increase in revenues, unassigned fund balance, and decrease in appropriations, unassigned fund balance. Mariana, you want to explain that?
Okay, I've got those marked as 1, 2, and 3. And the explanation is on the second or third page. There, if it's a 1, it's a transfer between one operating budget to another. If it's a 2, it's a budget amendment. And 3, it's a grant, restricted, or committed funds.
That it? Okay. Just this, explaining this just a little bit. This means that we took in a little more money than we thought we was going to, and we spent a little less than we thought we was going to. Is that what this basically means or not?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It depends on which line you're looking at.
That's the way I was reading it. I just wanted clarification.
The ones that are 2s are actual amendments.
Got it. Have a motion by Commissioner DeFord, seconded by Commissioner Watkins. You need to speak to this, Commissioner DeFord. Thank you. Any discussion? We're ready to vote, please.
Yes.
18 affirmative votes on that. 11D3.
This is amendment for an accident that occurred in a vehicle in the ambulance. I think that's right. Is that? We're on 12. Sorry. Is that right? Yes, we're on 1/18/2025. Is that correct? Okay, yes, we had a deer hit one of our ambulances and caused it significant damage because they had to take the box off the back of the ambulance. So that's why it's such a huge amount. But we did receive a check for that.
Motion by Commissioner Stubblefield, seconded by Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Stubblefield, you wish to speak to this?
she may have already told you, they had, when they did work on the ambulance, they had to take the box off when deer ran into them, so they had to fix that, and it required a little extra money, a little extra more funds to take that box off to repair the ambulance.
Okay. Any more discussion? Ready to vote, please.
Yes.
Vote approved by 18 yes. Next item, 11D4. Rural Capital Projects, Public Health and Welfare Projects.
As the explanation says, for preparation of a site plan for used oil and antifreeze storage facility at the Coffee County Rural Solid Waste Department at 2230 Murfreesboro Highway.
Got a motion by Commissioner Benton Brown, seconded by Commissioner Tim Morris. You wish to speak to this, Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Brown, do you wish to speak to this? You made the motion. Commissioner Morris, you wish to speak to this?
It's to pay for the site plan behind Randy's building right now, where he's building an oil storage facility to where the state of Tennessee requires him to take used motor oil. It will be a covered facility.
Thank you for that. Any more discussion? Ready to vote, please.
Yes.
Motion was approved with 18 yes. 11E, school budget amendments. And we need to vote for these one at a time? Okay.
First one is general purpose school fund. That's 141 2025 7. Can read the explanations listed. It's pretty detailed. This was approved by the school board and the budget and finance committee.
Motion by Commissioner Stubblefield, seconded by Commissioner Morris. You want to speak to it, Commissioner Stubblefield? No more discussion. We're ready to vote.
Yes.
18 affirmative votes for that budget amendment. 11E2, general purpose school fund, phase 2 window laminate.
This is the continuation of a project over at the school building. It is, both of these were approved by the school board and the budget and finance committee.
Motion made by Commissioner Watkins, seconded by Commissioner Hirschman. Commissioner Watkins, you have privilege to speak first. Have nothing. You're good. Would you please speak to the laminate, though, so people understand that?
Yes, sir. This is the laminate that will be going on the windows there at the schools. It's not bulletproof. It does make it somewhat bullet resistant where it will not shatter.
Thank you. No more discussion. We're ready to vote on that.
Yes.
18 yes, affirmative, so that motion does pass. Next item on the agenda is 11F, the 180-day moratorium major subdivision plat review. That would be resolution number 2025-03. Motion by Commissioner Hirschman, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Hirschman, you have privilege to speak first.
I know that there's a lot of communication about and miscommunication about a 180-day moratorium. Got to remember these people meet once a month. Yes, last night we did okay them to meet more than once a month. And once I think we gave that information to them, they think they can get things done a lot quicker. And once the stuff is revised in their code book, they can sit there and pull the moratorium off. It could even be a 30-day moratorium. It could be a 60-day moratorium. It could be a 90-day. It does not mean that they have to have all 180 days. But if we're giving them that, if they have to have 6 meetings, because it takes so much time to do so much in one meeting, you cannot do everything at one time. So that's one of the reasons why I don't have a problem with 180 days, because I think they can get it done in a whole lot quicker than that.
Commissioner Tim Brown, you're next to speak.
Is this when I need to table the restrictions, or wait till we pass it, or not pass it?
This is just a moratorium.
I do not think you can table the restrictions. You can table the entire motion. Now, the restrictions, that would be an amendment. You would remove the restrictions. But the table, you either table the whole motion, and the motion to table is not debatable, can't be discussed. It just has to be seconded and have a majority vote. If you want to delay, you can make a motion to postpone till the next meeting or whenever, and that can be debated and discussed.
Okay.
Commissioner Brown, would you consider amending this one? You know, you have the opportunity to amend this resolution at this time if you wish to do so.
I'd like to amend it and take the restrictions away, because if the moratorium passes, can't do nothing anyway. And maybe form a committee of the
I think you need to, correct me, Mr. Parliamentarian. I think you can, you need to first press your amend button so the computer's working, but hold on, be sure you're ready to do that. I think you could amend the length of this, but I'm not sure what restrictions you're talking about. There's only a single line restriction that says that we're restricted from the Planning Commission reviewing plats.
So what are you wanting to do with that restriction that the Chairman just mentioned?
I just want to take away the restrictions, because if the moratorium passes, nothing could be done anyway, so there would be no use of passing the restrictions.
So how would it read if you deleted that? That's what the commission would need to know, how that would read.
Well, I don't have it in front of me to read it.
It's in your packet.
Well, I don't want to start reading my packet all over again. But anyway, I live in the UGB area, and I've got a farm, and I wouldn't want nothing to ever happen to my farm. But the way I'm voting tonight, and I know I don't have to explain to nobody, I've had a lot of phone calls, and I've got to represent the people in my district. And that's all I've got to say.
Okay. Just be sure, we will get to you, Commissioner Seaburn. Just so everybody understands, this moratorium is just to restrict the review process, which takes the plats off the table while the Planning Commission is talking about modifications that they may want to make. It does not stop the application process. It does not stop anybody from moving forward with their intent. The moratorium is just that we're not going to have a Planning Commission with plats on the table while we're trying to maybe amend the zone, make recommendations for amending to that. That's what the moratorium is. Also, one more point, then we'll move on to discussion. The moratorium can be, this resolution plainly says that the planning commission has the ability to terminate the moratorium at their will. This would not have to come back. It either automatically expires in 180 days, or the planning commission can terminate it at their very next meeting. So everybody needed to understand that. Commissioner Seaburn, you are next.
Is he still wanting to amend this?
Well, he had not pushed his amend button. We do have to follow the computer system. He had not clicked that. So he was first in line to speak, and he said he was through speaking. So I'm moving to Commissioner Seaburn.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several items to say on this, and first of all, I just want to say, with all the comments in the public, I thought everybody on both sides did a really good job explaining their points. I appreciate that. It's been said a lot. I've heard a lot of comments in the last few days about how that this does not impact the cities at all. I am not speaking as the mayor of Tullahoma. I'm speaking as commissioner, but as a person who spent a lot of time working in the city of Tullahoma economic development, I want to disagree with that point of view. First of all, this moratorium, if we pass it, is going to say something about the attitude of our entire county towards growth. And one of the things we're doing in the cities, at least in the city of Tullahoma, is we're trying to recruit new retail. The city of Tullahoma's retail is, and the same will be true for Manchester, is not dependent just on the number of people that live in Tullahoma. We have a drive time distance within 20 miles of Tullahoma that retailers look at when they want to come to our city. And that area includes about 140,000 people is currently kind of our area of population within our shopping area within the city of Tullahoma. Manchester's probably actually greater than that with your proximity to the interstate. And when retailers are coming, they want to know what that population is and is it growing or not. And if we put out a moratorium stating that our community is interested in slowing or stopping our growth, it's going to have a direct impact on our ability to attract businesses in Tullahoma, businesses in the city of Manchester. Furthermore, the industrial park, the I-24 industrial park, the state is trying to recruit to, when it comes down to it, at some point, hopefully, there'll be a selection between us and some other site that could be in Georgia, could be in Mississippi, could be in North Carolina. We've been in competition with those states. And if the message from Coffee County is that we want to stop growth, that could be a deciding factor in whether or not a large industry that has great paying jobs decides to locate here. I think what we're really talking about tonight is, do we want to grow or not? And there are people that feel both ways, and I understand that. I'm not criticizing anybody who wants to have less growth, but I think the commission needs to understand that voting for this moratorium is a message to the entire community of people examining our community as to whether they should come here or not. I served on the planning commission in the city of Tullahoma for 4 or 5 years a while ago, several years back. While I was on the commission, we rebuilt our entire subdivision regulations. We rebuilt the city land use map. We rebuilt the city zoning map, and we did a transportation plan update, all while doing regular business of the commission without having to have a moratorium. I do not understand why our planning commission cannot meet more than once a month with an issue that's so important that it brings this crowd of people out, and why they can't do the regular business as well as getting new regulations in that would help protect our farmland, which I support. But I also think we've got to have some allowance for some growth, even in the rural areas. But if we decide not to do that, we at least need to try to do it in such a manner that we don't leave the impression that the entire county, cities included, are against growth. So that's the first part of what I want to say. I also want to talk about I also want to just make a couple of comments, for example, talking about who's buying these houses. There have been several comments about it's the outsiders that are buying the houses. Well, it's true some outsiders are buying houses. There are also a lot of people here buying houses. We're having the same argument inside the city limit of Tullahoma about how much growth do we want and how many houses do we want. And, you know, there are people concerned about that, and I understand that, rightfully so. But We need places in Tullahoma, and I believe we need places in Coffee County for our own kids to live. We don't have places in Tullahoma for young people coming in, making jobs. Our police officers, our nurses, our school teachers. My daughter just started a radiology tech program, and she's getting married in July. And, you know, houses are $350,000 at 6% interest rates, and we have no apartments. Any restriction of housing anywhere in the county is just going to make the cost of housing in Coffee County go up, not only for new people coming out, but seniors who want to move down in house, and our young people who, I don't know about you, but I would like to at least have one or two of my grandchildren, my future grandchildren, live local. And if we try to restrict housing in the current environment, it's going to be a problem. And in addition to that, we hear constantly from industry that we need more housing. I would love it if all the housing was in the urban growth boundary. But we can achieve that without doing this moratorium, putting a black eye on our community. And I would beg this commission, if we want to talk about fixing the zoning, then let's encourage the Planning Commission to do that. Let's let them do that work, but let's not do a moratorium that put a black eye on our community. Thank you.
Commissioner D. Ford.
I guess I would like to say I see both arguments on both sides, and there's a lot of heart here tonight, and both sides that love Coffee County. I would like to ask a raise of hands for the people who are for this moratorium. Can I see a raise of hand for the people who are against the moratorium? I kind of feel like it's a no-win situation because I love Coffee County, the community I grew up in. It's grown tremendously. I remember I grew up in the Rutledge Falls area when you could walk from Cat Creek Road to the old highway and see no houses. Now that doesn't exist. That'll never exist for my grandkids. I talked to a farmer today. He owns 1,200 acres in my district. He farms. He said no amount of money could buy his property. But he also said he didn't want restrictions on his property in case years down the line, his grandkids decide they need to sell that property, maybe for financial reasons, for any reasons. So I see both sides, both arguments from both sets, the people for and against it. I don't want us to turn into Murfreesboro at all. I voted against both rock quarries. I don't want that to come here. So it's kind of a no-win situation in my opinion. We're gonna grow. We can't stop growth. But thank you all for being here, and I just wanted to say that we're all kind of put in a position. I wish the whole commission had been a lot more proactive with the subdivisions over the years, especially for out-of-town developers, and we might not be sitting here trying to make this decision tonight, but I hope the Planning Commission can come up with a happy medium for everybody. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Benton Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table this moratorium for 90 days.
That would be inappropriate and out of order at this time. We have a motion to amend already on the board. I'm allowing people to speak prior to us addressing the motion to amend. There hasn't been one made. I'm allowing people to speak that was already on the key to speak, and now Commissioner Brown, did you just this is going crazy. It says he had a motion to amend up there. Now I don't see it. Did you cancel your amendment?
He did.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we hadn't voted on the main motion yet, but we're not through allowing people to speak. Right now, Commissioner Benton Brown still has the floor and the privilege to speak.
That's my speak. That's what I want to do. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Commissioner Hollingsworth, you're next.
Yes, I'd like to, I think both sides have made a good argument tonight, but I'd like to address the commission, and especially the 8 rural commissioners. When I started on this commission 6 years ago, the number was Manchester City 4, commissioners, Tullahoma had 7. The rural folks had 10. As we progressed and as things grew, we had a realignment because of population, and it went to Manchester 4, Tullahoma 6. The rural folks dropped to 8, 2 down from 10. And now the magic number to get anything passed is 10. If you don't have growth in the rural area at all, it's going to die, and you ain't going to have any say-so. And if you don't have any say-so in this commission, the majority takes it and wins it. And in 2030, when the next census comes out, we could very likely be looking at Manchester 5, Tullahoma 7, the rural folks 6. And that's not good when people are looking for their own interests. So you have to you have to, careful what you wish for. So that's all I got to say. Just I wanted to address that to the 8 rural commissioners. So you need to think about that tonight. So thank you.
Right. Okay. All right, now we have Commissioner Benton Brown. See, I don't know how to handle this. Commissioner Smith was wishing to speak, then it went away, now it's back. Got Benton Brown wanting to make a motion. It was there, now it's still there. So which one are we gonna do first? Let Commissioner Smith speak? So you're wishing to amend at this time?
My iPad is going crazy. Half the buttons don't work.
Mine too.
Yeah, I mean, we're having some technical difficulties. I do, but I'll let Ms. Smith speak since she was before my amend button was pushed.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith, you're up.
I would like to thank the people that are here tonight. I can appreciate people that care about their community. I received a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, a lot of emails. And since Mrs. DeFord asked how many people were for and how many were against, I would like to see a show of hands of the people here that are going to, most of the people that sent me information against it were realtors. So how many people here, is that a question I can ask? How many are realtors or developers? I do represent a rural district, and that was just my question. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Seaburn, you have already spoke once. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak before he's allowed to speak twice? Should I go ahead and take the motion to amend?
Yeah, he's next.
I think we're going to do that. You be able to speak in that. Please state your motion to amend.
My motion is to amend is to table this for 90 days and come back to it.
That's not an amendment. You can change the text or the number of the resolution before us. Anything in the body that you don't like, you can change by amendment. If you're making a motion to postpone, if you don't want it, postpone is a more appropriate motion than table in almost all circumstances.
Postpone it.
You make a motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone.
Does that stop debate? Or
You're correct, Mayor. You cannot table something for an amount of time. You either table it or you don't table it. But the motion to postpone for 90 days is a legitimate motion. It requires a second, and it can be discussed. It requires a majority vote.
That's my motion to postpone.
do you want to postpone to a finite date?
90 days.
Okay. Commissioner Stubblefield has seconded that. Commissioner Seaburn, you are recognized to speak.
I'll hold my comment for the next section.
Okay. Does anybody else want to speak to the motion to postpone for 90 days? Commissioner DeFord.
If we do that, is that gonna put us back here in the same position in 90 days to vote for
Yes.
this again? Okay, just checking.
Yeah, as chair, I would like to see this dispensed of one way or the other. You know, it's just, the moratorium is still hanging out there. As Commissioner Seaburn has pointed out, it's going to be in the newspaper. It's hanging there. They're still considering it. You know, I really would like to see it dispensed of one way or the other. Commissioner Brown, your motion is still active.
May I
You
speak?
good with it?
May I speak?
You want to postpone? You don't want to vote on it tonight?
No, may I speak?
Sure, absolutely.
To my understanding, the 180-day moratorium was to give the planning commission time to go over rules and regulations and change what needed to be changed. Yes?
Correct.
To look at everything and let them do their job. My motion stands to postpone for 90 days and let the planning commission step up and do their job. They can meet more than one time a month without having a 90-day, without this moratorium, and if they can't do it in 90 days, then we'll address it then. That's my...
The second, thank you for that. The second by Commissioner Stubblefield. You wish to speak to this?
I'm good with what he said. I mean, 90 days, you know, either we postpone it or suspend it or whatever we need to do.
Anybody want to speak to the motion to postpone for 90 days? Commissioner Smith.
If the 90 days is the amount of time you want to postpone it,
It
why
still
not
is an
change the days? I'm not trying to, why not change it from 180 to 90 days? That gives them 90 days to do their job.
Commissioner Seaburn.
I just want to emphasize again that there is nothing stopping the County Planning Commission from working on this right now without a moratorium.
I agree. This is a conversation this county had to have, and I feel very confident in myself bringing this to the attention of everyone in this county. I'm glad of this conversation. Commissioner Hodge, you speak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Commissioner Seaburn. We can continue on with what we're doing. I do want at some point to address this issue, that if it's this important and we're going to have to vote on it, that we be allowed to work with the Planning Commission as the CLB and be at those meetings and be a part of what's going on. If this is this important to this county and we're going to have to make a vote on that, then I'd say, then I will, if I need to make an amendment after this one, then I would make an amendment that the CLB meet with the Planning Commission and that we carry on with our normal business and there not be a moratorium, but we get in there and work together and work this out. Come in here in this room, have a meeting every week if we need to, but we review and revisit all this and we take care of that. So that's just my opinion at this point.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah, any amendment to his postponement would be out of order, which you did not actually vote, you just vocalized that, but.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Tim Brown, you have the floor.
I also think if this passes, we need to have the farmers and businessmen get together in the Planning Commission so we could all discuss it together.
with all due respect to those comments, the planning commission meets publicly. Everybody involved should be there every month, and they're not. Our farmers did show up at the last meeting, and we did hear from them. So right now, I think we need to vote on that postponement, and those that don't feel like it needs to hang there, you know how you got to vote. You got to vote no to postpone or yes to postpone it, and then it's still hanging there. So anyone else want to speak to this postpone? I said it backwards.
If you vote yes to postpone, that stops it tonight.
Yeah.
If you vote no to postpone, then it's open back up. For
Okay. I've been backwards before in my life. Anybody want to speak before we vote on the motion to postpone? Commissioner DeFord.
I'm sorry. If we vote, I don't disagree with Commissioner Brown, but I want to make sure that this gets handled. We don't put this off for 90 days. So if we don't have a moratorium, the planning commission's going to work on this to get this taken care of for both parties, right?
Yeah, they're working on it either way. I mean, some people, it's like they think the planning commission, the 7 members are sitting around in a beer joint. Let's do it. You know, they have been working on this. They started last August is when it was brought to the table that we needed to work on our zoning resolution. So they've studied it. They have worked on it. So if there's no more discussion on this, are you through speaking, Commissioner DeFord?
The moratorium's not going to stop what's already started in
It
subdivisions
is not.
anyway, right?
Nothing
This is for
nothing that has
future.
been applied for and been before that body will slow down.
Okay.
Not by
That
any
answers
action
my
of this
question.
governmental entity. Let's vote on the motion to postpone.
Seven yes, 11 no.
Okay, the motion to postpone has failed. That means the main motion for the moratorium is back on the floor. It's fully amendable. If you want to make it shorter, it is any word in that is available for your ability to amend.
Can I make an amendment?
Wait just a minute. We got to get our screens right. All right, we're back to the main motion that was made by Commissioner Hirschman, seconded by Commissioner Smith. It is back on the floor for discussion. Discussion. It can be amended as well. Okay, Commissioner DeFord. You have you have a motion to amend?
Yes, Mr. Hirschman, what he said, that this probably won't take 180 days, I totally agree with that. We have no idea. Can I amend that to 90 days so it's kind of equal on both sides?
You
I
can
think
make
that
a
was your
motion to
original
amend it to
proposal.
1 hour. I mean, you've got the privilege to
'Cause
make your
I think
whatever.
180 days is excessive on both sides. I think that this can be resolved within 90 days.
Please
Can I-
state your motion to amend, please.
Can I amend this resolution for the moratorium to 90 days instead of 180?
Okay, the motion to amend the main motion on the floor is 90 days, cutting the 180 in half. Her motion to amend needs a second. I do not see a second for her motion to amend to cut the 180 to 90. So that motion would fail for the lack of a second. main motion is now back on the floor in its full text as 180 days. And we're not ready to vote on the main motion. The floor is still open for discussion or amendments, if somebody else has got another amendment to this. It's not allowing, well, what it was, she made a motion to amend, and it's sort of hard for the system to back up off a motion to amend that failed for the lack of a second. So it's going to take her a little bit of time to get back to. We need the main motion back before the body with the ability to amend or discuss, either one. Commissioner Stubblefield, you wish to speak?
Yes, I just want to make a comment. You made a comment a while ago that Planning Commission's been working on this since August.
Correct.
And we didn't have a moratorium going on then. So I don't see why we're even talking about having a moratorium now. Since they've been working on it since August, what's to stop it to continue on and maybe add some special called meetings in there instead of meeting once a month, meet twice a month, meet until you get it done. So, my opinion, we don't need a moratorium. So, we do it all the time, budget and finance. We meet every week for a month to get through the budget. So I wouldn't think the Plan Commission should be any different.
I want clarification from Commissioner Stubblefield. Were you at the last C-Test training meeting we had 3 weeks ago?
No, I was not.
I can't remember everybody that was there, but they came in with, this is facts that everybody needs to know about in that training session. The CTAS, County Technical Advisory Services that the University of Tennessee provides us, they came with 5 individuals. Generally, it's no more than 2. They came with 5. One of them was their hot shot attorney, and the other one that was, of course, there was our rep, Heather Duncan, and her cohort, Wesley. But the third individual was a expert on zoning and land use issues. And I asked the question because I'd heard it popping up in other counties, Jefferson County, other counties been doing it. So I asked the question, can we impose a moratorium on like subdivision approvals and all that? He said yes, as long as you state a finite time for this. So I thought to get the conversation, get everybody to the table, and that's what it took. And I put it out. I didn't try to sneak this in. I immediately put it to the 2 media representatives sitting at that table. I posted on 3 social media sites, and of course everybody got to the table and started talking about it. And the 90 days I felt like was more than enough, but somehow or another at the Planning Commission, they seemed to think it needed to be a little bit longer. So I didn't agree with it, but I'm not a voting member of the Planning Commission. So therefore, I just wanted everybody to know the timeline, how we got where we are. And I'm glad we're here. I'm really glad we're here. So having said that, the motion and second to approve the 180-day moratorium is the main motion. Still ready to amend or discuss? Is there any more discussion before we vote on it? Commissioner Hodge, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amend button is not working, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll go on. My opinion, again, is I agree with Commissioner Seaborn. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We don't need to make a moratorium out of this, but if it is that we represent the people of Coffee County, and we do, then we need to work hand in hand with the Planning Commission. My amendment would be that we not approve the moratorium, but that we put the CLB with the Planning Commission and start working on this immediately, and then bring back at whatever time we get that finished. We can take 30 days, we can take 60 days, but we bring that back to this body here in a public place to vote on it.
Your motion to amend to not approve would not really be appropriate. All you got to do is put it for a vote, and you ask people to vote no. If your opinion is let's vote no on that, you can state that, but
Okay,
you
I'll make an
don't
amendment.
amend to not approve something. You vote to not approve it. Right. The amendment can't, or our parliamentarian has shared with me that an amendment cannot change the content of a main motion. The original intent.
Okay, the amendment then is that since we can't change that, the amendment is still that the CLB work with the Planning Commission in this room, and that we solve this the most quick way that we can do that. Since it involves us, and we're going to have to vote on it, we need to have that input. We need to be in those meetings, and we need to be help making those decisions. If we're going to be changing codes and that thing, we need to be
with all
there.
due
If it is
respect,
as important
you know,
to this
you
county as to
working with
bring
us
this
can
much
be
attention to
accomplished.
it, we need to be a part of that meeting.
You absolutely can be a part of it without making a motion, making it a business item. In my opinion, you guys can show up anytime you want to and help us out. And I say us because I spent so many years on the Planning Commission, and though I'm not now.
But if we weren't there officially, we would only be
If you want
guests.
to amend the moratorium resolution, state clearly what your amendment is, and let's see if we get a second on it. Since you say the amend button's not working on your device.
Correct.
Do what, Donna? Yeah. Does anybody else see an amend button on their tablet?
We got it. What she's saying is she has to accept it if
See
it's
the
going
amend
to
button,
amend.
just doesn't work, not functioning.
Sure. Our parliamentarian wishes to address you.
Mr. Hodge, the purpose of an amendment is to modify a motion. You cannot change the original intent of a motion. And I think that your amendment is sort of separate and apart from this motion. And so what, in my opinion, from a parliamentary procedure standpoint, this motion either needs to pass or fail, whichever. And then your motion would need to be put on the agenda and brought up as a separate item because it's not really part of the intent of this motion.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Jones, you have the floor to speak.
Looking at this resolution, the way it's written, Mayor, is that the only thing that this moratorium does for the period of time specified is stops the process of plat review. It does not have anything to do with application process or other pieces of actions in the process that have already been submitted. All it is a time out to give the Planning Commission the time required to go back through and review all of the procedures in the zoning codes. That is what this resolution is. Only a timeout for that period to allow. Now, as the mayor said, when he first thought this was the appropriate thing, he proposed 90 days. The Planning Commission themselves, who we consider to be the experts, proposed that it be 180 days. If we hold them to the standards that they have performed in the past, I think we should respect that if they say they need 180 days, they need 180 days. It also says in this resolution, if it does not require that period of time, they don't have to take that period of time. And I believe these people that are on that commission will not be dragging their feet now that they understand the importance that it is to all of you and to all of us. That's all I have to say about pushing this resolution forward to vote.
Commissioner Jones, that was accurately stated. Thank you very much for that. Does anybody else want to speak to the main motion that's on the floor before us? I want to go ahead and call for a vote on the main motion to approve the resolution of moratorium for plat reviews for 180.
Yes, 8 no. Passed.
That passed, didn't it? Okay. All right. I sat on this commission for so long where it took 11 votes for anything to pass. You know, it took me a little bit for that to sink in. Okay, 10 yes, 8 no. No one abstained. Thank you for that. So the motion does pass. The 180-day moratorium is in place. Next item. Let me flip back to it. Would be the resolution 2025-05. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, 04. This is resolution to amend Resolution 2006-39 to rezone the property for Randy Anderson. Got a motion by Commissioner Morris, a second by Commissioner Stubblefield. Commissioner Morris, you wish to speak to this? Anyone else? Okay, Commissioner Jones. That is correct. Yeah, by default. Correct. I hate to make this meeting any longer, but this is a real good time to point something out. Because that individual's property was located in Tullahoma's urban growth boundary, he was required to go to the Tullahoma's Planning Commission first to apply and ask to be rezoned. The complexities of their zoning resolution and ours, they can't possibly learn our zoning resolution book to book. Even the individuals that serve on our planning commission and the individuals that we pay to enforce our codes and zoning back here, it's nearly impossible for them to know all of that. The process has had hiccups continually over the years, where the two municipalities, when they go to rezone property, or when they're asked to rezone property that's actually county property but in the UGB, their planning commission looks at it, but they don't have privy to the years of experience of applying the specifics of our planning commission. Then it skips our planning commission, and that's why it's here. Our planning commission would have approved this zoning resolution to hands down. And I did because of my research for Nick Graham, which I mentioned earlier. I found that maybe the UGB line cut in a single parcel will do the same thing, but I did find that paragraph that says he's either way. I apologize to all the individuals and the heartache that the neighbors called. As President Truman said, the buck stops here. It was my responsibility. These individuals work for the mayor in the codes enforcement office, and they should have caught it. The minute he called here saying, I want to rezone my property, he should have been told, hey, you have a district line cut in two, you can go 500 feet either way for either district use. So my apologies to the individuals that had any sort of bad nights of sleep regarding that. So the motion before us is to approve. He wants his whole parcel C2 by resolution. So there's never any question. That's one before us. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Yes.
18 yes to rezone Randy Anderson property. I would like to add real quick to the two city mayors, my buddies, Mayor Hobbs and Mayor Seaburn, anytime your planning commission is looking at that stuff in the UGB, I'll be glad to come and help them work through it. You know, the years on the county planning commission, I'm already on the payroll. I'll be glad to do it. So, Resolution 2525-05. Resolution to amend certain provisions of our zoning resolution 2006-39, subdivision regulations related to A1 agriculture and forestry districts. Looking for a motion. Have a motion by Commissioner Morris, second by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Morris, you have the privilege to speak first. You've heard enough. Commissioner Smith, do you wish to speak to it at this time? Commissioner Miller.
I think since we did the moratorium and we're giving the planning commission to work on this, I'd like to see us table this particular motion.
Do you want to postpone?
That'll be fine. Let's postpone it until
Do you
there's a
wanna
result
postpone to a,
for the rest of the regulations.
okay. I think I need to let Commissioner Hodge, you want to speak to the main motion, is that correct?
Well, I'm following with Commissioner Miller.
Okay.
If we're going to have a moratorium and we're considering zone and code changes, then I think these need to go back and be a part of that moratorium. In other words, I don't think we need to vote on them now. We need to send them back. If I need to make that in form of an amendment,
Okay.
I can do that. But yeah, if this is part of the moratorium to consider all of these codes, then they need to go back and be considered with a moratorium.
Okay, this was discussion. So, Commissioner Miller, do you want to state your motion again?
I would move that we postpone this item until we have more results after the moratorium is lifted.
So you want to postpone these provisions for 6 months?
No, whenever the moratorium is lifted.
Wherever it ends, okay,
Yes.
till it expires, either by planning commission or the expiration date.
Correct.
Okay, got you. There's, I don't see a second. The second I see is on the main motion, right? Yeah.
If you need a second, I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Stubblefield, you seconded the motion to postpone by Commissioner Miller. All right, the motion, that is debatable, right? Okay. Yeah. So the floor is open for discussion at this time on the postponement. Commissioner DeFord.
My only question is, whatever comes out of the planning commission, whatever restrictions they want to apply will still come back in front of the full commission, right?
If you're amending our zoning resolution, it requires everything we've went through today, public hearing and a full vote by the legislative body. Miller, okay, now our screen's up there, correct. In discussion, I would like, without objection, our planning commission chairman is in the room. I would like for him to speak to these zoning resolution amendments. State your objection, please. If you would speak into your microphone so everybody can hear exactly what you're saying.
This has been a very long night. I think everybody clearly understands the issue, and I think everyone's ready to vote. I don't think we need to delay this meeting further.
Okay. Are you calling the question? That's non-debatable. Takes 2/3, correct, to stop?
No,
to stop discussion?
It depends on how you want to handle it, Mr. Chairman. He called for the question, and you can just simply say the question's been called for, we'll now vote. But if you want the commission to vote on whether or not to end debate, then he has to say, I move the question. He has to put it as a motion. So you can handle it either way. If you want the commission to vote on whether or not to end debate, then he has to say, I move the question, I move the previous question.
Do you? I feel like all the individuals in this room deserve due process, and you know, I would like to see it voted on, but that's me. You objected to me allowing our chairman of the planning commission to speak. Well, thank you. Is Chairman Cunningham still with us? Would you please come to the podium?
I heard quite a bit up here about how much work you do and all that kind of stuff. We have been working on what you guys have in front of you for the last couple of meetings, okay? It's not something that came up out of the blue. Going through the planning book, you've done it, Mr. Seaborn, you know it's tough. We have a number of issues every month. We do those issues that we have to do, and then we spend time going through the book. What we started doing was going through, correcting typos, updating things, and then when we had the subdivision on Airport Road, it kind of was a shot across the bow of the county because it's a little different than what we've had in the past. Now, I heard Mr. Seaborn and some others say, well, you need growth out in the county. Well, that's basically what the growth plan says for the UGB, that's where the cities are supposed to grow, okay? The county, the A1 area is supposed to be for open space, agriculture, and forestry. That's what it was designed to do, but it does allow subdivisions, and we have allowed small subdivisions out in that area. Now, what you guys are looking at tonight is what we came up with in our last two meetings, and it's in the A1 area, 5 acres. That is the minimum. You can have 100 acres if you want to have it. We thought it out very, very carefully. It's not intended to stop growth. It's not intended to slow growth much. Coffee County is in the crosshairs, and everyone knows it. Everybody knows that. But we have to manage this growth to the best of our ability and put it where we want it. I heard some really good speakers back here. I mean, Mr. Northcutt even brought up the widows and orphans and old people, and I'm glad he did because I'm an old person myself. But we need to decide what kind of county we want to be. I guarantee you, before a week's over, you will hear someone, and maybe more than someone, say, hope we don't get like Rutherford County. We don't want to be like Rutherford County. And you'll hear Rutherford County people say, don't let them do that to your county. I mean, you hear a lot of people say that. Don't let them do that to your county. What you've got in front of you is the first steps of many that we will take in the next, and I promise you that we will work as hard as we can, and I don't expect it to take 90 days. I expect it to be a shorter period of time, but there will still be work to be done on the zoning resolution after that. All we're asking for is a pause, and the first steps are what you have in front of you. Now, if you want to put them off, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. But the brunt of everything needs to fall on the elected officials. You guys need to make the decisions on what to do and how to do it. By the way, I've heard a lot of people say, Mr. Hodge in particular, well, we want to, we need to come to the meetings. We have a meeting on the 4th Tuesday of every month. And I've not seen very many county commissioners there, but we would love to have you and love to have your input. So put that on your calendar. Any questions? Thank you for your
I really would like for you guys to ask him some questions. I know you have questions. He's a guy that can answer them. And please speak up.
Did you draw up this resolution?
Did I?
The resolution I'm reading here, did you draw that up, or who draw that up?
No, he
The
did
lawyer
not.
draws
Our
that.
county mayor drew it.
Okay.
Yeah, the lawyer.
I've said
lawyer
county
done that,
mayor.
but I mean,
Boy, I messed
you
up
put-
again. Our county attorney drew the resolution up.
Oh, okay. And we've got a good county attorney.
Are you asking about the particular items?
Well, I got a problem because you list, on this resolution, you're listing the 3 major issues, that you want to talk about. And, I may want 2 of them. I may not want this one. You know what I'm saying?
Ask the mayor about that.
I know, and I think they need to be brought separate instead of just grouping all these up.
Well,
because I may agree with 2 of them, may not like one.
well, just tell me what you agree with and what you don't.
Well, we'll get with that later, but, it's not going to change what how I vote tonight.
Well, and next time we'll do it in 3, but that's not what the lawyer did, and I didn't have anything to do with that except putting those things
I don't
forward.
have no problem. It's just, I'd like to have seen it separately. I think it would have been, I know it's longer and more complicated, and we surely don't need to be here any longer than we are, but, okay. That's all, only question I had.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Miller, do you want to ask him a question at this point? Now would be the time to do that. Do what? Huh?
I said I want to make a comment to the whole crowd.
A comment on the resolution before us?
My motion. my amendment, I'm sorry. To table, not an amendment.
Did it get a second?
table.
It did, okay.
My motion.
Okay, I got you. Go
All,
ahead.
the only intent for my motion was those people that haven't been coming and could have been coming, and the public in general too, all of us, we need to be going to these meetings if we want to be voting on this stuff. So this is an opportunity for anybody that wants to show up to this meetings, and nothing's been changed yet. So that's my motion.
Commissioner Jones, you have the floor.
Thank you all for being here tonight. It's been quite enlightening, but the hour is getting late, and we need to move it forward a little bit as much as we can. It is before this committee now, as Commissioner Miller has proposed, that we take no action on this resolution 25-05. And it has been seconded by Commissioner Stubblefield just to take no action on this. The moratorium has passed. The Planning Commission will continue their efforts going forward with updating anything. It will do no harm to send this back and let it rejoin the package that you all are going to be continuing to work on for the next 180 days or less at your will. I think with that understanding that we should vote on Commissioner Miller's proposal.
Any more comments? I really, anybody got any questions for Chairman Cunningham before he goes back and gets comfortable? All right.
I'd like to be excused at any time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for showing up. So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Miller to postpone until the termination of the moratorium. Seconded by Stubblefield. Any more discussion? We'll vote.
Yes, 4 no.
The motion to postpone passes with 14 yes and 4 no. Thank you for that. The next one is Resolution 2025-06. It's 11G3. Resolution to amend our Resolution 2006-39 for solar farms. Got a motion by Commissioner Hirschman, a second by Commissioner Morris. Commissioner Hirschman, you wish to speak?
Not at this time.
Floor is open for discussion. Let's vote.
Mr. Chairman, my screen is frozen, not working. I would like to submit a motion, as we did with the last resolution, we do with this one, and send them all back at the same time for the same consideration.
That one would, I believe I'd have to consider out of order because you're actually amending the agenda by adding an item to it. Would that be correct, Mr. Parliamentarian?
Oh my gosh.
Are you asking to postpone this?
Yes, exactly like we did for the previous.
You're asking, oh, maybe I couldn't hear you probably. You're asking to postpone the solar farm?
Yes.
Resolution?
Yes. Just as the
You need to
previous.
put that on a motion if you want a motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone until the end of the moratorium. However, the last amendment offered by Commissioner Miller.
Mhm. I would need a second to postpone the solar farm resolution. Commissioner Benton Brown seconded that. Discussion.
Oh my gosh.
I would like to say that that resolution was crafted by CTAS attorneys, and it's pretty airtight. But do you have a problem with that one?
Yes, there's some vagueness in there, and the wording and some of the things that it's too late to get into all those details, but we can get into those details during the Planning Commission meeting.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Hodge to postpone, seconded by Commissioner Benton Brown. Ready, any more discussion on it? No. Ready to vote?
Seven yes, 11 no, it failed.
Thank goodness.
Okay, the motion to postpone has failed. The main motion is now back on the floor.
I call the question.
Question been called. We're ready to vote.
Yes, 1 no, 1 abstain.
16 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstained. So the motion carries. That's a good one, that solar farm. I like that one. The next item on the agenda is rural solid waste. (2025-07), a 10-year plan. That's something we're required to do. Motion by Commissioner Morris, seconded by Commissioner Watkins.
It's a 10-year plan that rural solid waste is required to turn into the state of Tennessee. It's been approved by Rural Solid Waste Board and sent here.
Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Yes.
18 yes has approved the 10-year rural solid waste plan. Thank you for that. The next one is report of standing committees. Do you have your list there, Ms. Chairman Pro Tem?
First on the standing committees is Budget and Finance. Commissioner Morris.
Our next meeting's Thursday, the 20th at 5 o'clock. Have 6 groups, and Mariana didn't tell me who all, but we have 6 groups that we'll run through, going over their budgets. So if you'd like to see what's going on, we're either on TV or come visit us.
Commissioner DeFord, did you have something?
Can I go ahead and give my law enforcement committee report? I have to be at work at 10 o'clock, so I've got to leave.
Absolutely. Go ahead with your.
Our next meeting will be scheduled for March 27th, Thursday, for the ones that are on our committee, and I'll send out a reminder. Thursday, March 27th.
At what time was that?
At 4:30, our normal time.
Thank you, Commissioner DeFord.
Thank you.
Next is legislative. Commissioner Watkins.
Nothing to report. Our next meeting will be Monday, March 31st.
March 31st. Thank you. HWR, Commissioner Hollingsworth.
Yes, our next meeting will be March 20th, a Thursday at 6 p.m. And if you want to know more about it, just I defer you to your minutes, please.
Thank you. Capital Outlay Commissioner Terry Hirschman.
Well, we've been awful busy, so we went through most of the stuff that we've done this past month. So I'll just leave it at that. We've gone through most of that tonight. I'll go ahead and give you an update on the policy and procedures. We have not had a meeting since we did not meet last week or last month, but we are meeting on the 17th at 5 o'clock. So if you want to be there and come and join us.
Thank you. That concludes the
Is that it?
committee.
Okay, next is statement is announcements. We will vote on adjournment, okay? So don't people start jumping up. Does anybody have statements or announcements?
I'd just like to say that the budget, we're starting on the budget, and on the Monday before we have a full county commission meeting, most of us get together. Those of you that aren't able to come or whatever, you can ask questions or whatever, call me. I appreciate if you do show up. That way we can go over things. We don't vote. We just talk about things that are on the agenda. You can ask questions about the budget. They can be answered for you. That way you can make this sort of go a little bit faster out here too.
Thank you for that. Any more? Anybody else? Motion to adjourn. You pushing your buttons, please. Just vote. You got it. We are officially adjourned. Thank you, guys. I know it's a long one, but it was one of the most important meetings we've had.
Got a little overtime tonight, huh?